All right, let's call the meeting to order. Start with the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We start out tonight with just the reason we're all here. Andrew Popovic is the December Student of the Month. That's you. Phenomenal. Very good. So did you guys want to introduce yourself? Teacher.
My name's Andrew.
Andrew.
So you guys,
I'm just gonna say a few words about Andrew. and then we can-
good.
So my name is Maureen Gallagher. I'm the coordinator for in-district programs with Duchess BOCES. I'm so very proud to be here with Andrew Popovic to celebrate his award here as the December 2022 Student of Distinction. I want to recognize his parents, Frank and Marcella Popovic, as well. And through Andrew's dedication and hard work, he has earned this award tonight. Andy is currently in his final year at Arlington High School in our BOCES program. He is supported by his teacher, Mr. Baker. During my visits to Andy's classroom, what has impressed me the most is not only Andy's work ethic, but also his approach to learning, his politeness, and his kindness, not only to adults that he interacts with, but to his classmates as well. That really stood out to me. His teachers have shared that he's a very quick learner, very detail oriented, and he's very conscientious. These skills and values have served him well, not only in the classroom, but also in the community where he takes place in the work-based learning program. His capable and conscientious attitude make Andy one of the most requested students in our program. You may have seen Andy at one of the sites in the community, such as the Tops Market, Price Chopper, Hannaford's, TGI Fridays, Vassar College Cafeteria, Advanced Auto Parts, and Adams Fair Acre Farms. All those places. Another one?
Wappingers, people, and Poughkeepsie.
And Poughkeepsie, correct. So I want to congratulate Andy and his family for this recognition. We look forward to hearing about your future successes as you move on. Would you like to share anything?
Well, yesterday I went to Adams and I did reshops and I did the stocking. And I didn't tell Albert that can you fill the water? He wants that type of natural spring water,
Okay.
the sunny water.
So you did your job, and I know that you did a fantastic job.
And candy
So the candy too.
and produce. And in Poughkeepsie, and I did go faster at the produce.
I know you're very efficient, Andy, and you are, as I said, in the little speech here, that you're the most person that all these stores want to come back over and over.
We were watching The Price is Right.
I thought you were gonna say you're watching the prices rise.
Andrew, congratulations. So Mrs. Popovic, congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. And what's your name? Teacher. Mr. Baker, congratulations to all of you. Thank you so much.
He's a great student. He's great. Excuse me.
There you go. Congratulations, Andrew. All right. Now we have to do the non-fun stuff. Next up is, and no offense. Next up is our review of the two finalists for the project manager. Starting with school construction consultants.
It is not a blank slate, trust me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Elliot, you gonna start or?
No, I'm just getting out of the way so you guys can see this.
Okay.
But this is school construction consultants. So just to recap, we interviewed, I think, 5 firms in the first round. We're bringing the 2 finalists forward today. Facility subcommittee, thank you for your involvement in the whole process. And we really appreciate it. So I'll let you gentlemen.
Thank you very much. We really appreciate it. And it's not going to be very easy going out, after that sort of presentation, whatever. Thank you, man. And it seems to be. My name is Will Reesky. I'm one of the principal school construction consultants.
Bob Pelliello, Joe Henry, Tony Campanella.
And during the presentation, we'll talk a little bit about our roles in different projects and within the organization. Just want to give you a little rundown of what we're about and some of the projects we've been involved in and what we can do for you as a company. Just as an introduction, we're going into our 29th year as a company. We were formed in August of 1994. There are 2 owners. I'm one of the principal owners. We started out as licensed architects. We were doing design work, creating specifications and designs for educational facilities, school type projects, public projects. Became very evident early on in the first few years of us practicing that we really enjoyed being in the field, advocating, for the owners, for the schools, for the children, really. And we just enjoyed seeing projects implemented and completed. So we moved into the construction management side of the industry. In every project, there's a construction team. We're one of the team members on the side of the owner. You certainly have the owner who hires all the parties, who has to, provide direction for us, goals, and that we help establish. The architect is the master builder, so to speak. They're in charge of the design, specifications. They start with the budgeting and the the idea, the planning of the project, and then we assist in all that early on. And as we move forward in construction, we become sort of the eyes and ears and daily on-site representation for the owners. And we work with the contractor and with the liaison between the contractor, the architects, and the owner. These are just the projects we like to list essentially everywhere that we've worked. Our niche is New York State Wickes Law. Wickes Law is a law that was passed many decades ago in New York State for public projects, publicly funded projects, where there's a minimum of prime contracts. There's a general contractor, HVAC contractor, plumbing, and electrician. And there's an exception for a certain threshold, but essentially it has to be divided into multi-prime contracts. And it really can be interesting, without having someone to help orchestrate and coordinate that process during construction. We just want to show you just some relevant projects that we've been involved in. We've just completed Port Chester Drive School District. It was essentially $91 million of work that we just completed. Joe Henry was the lead senior project manager on that project, and I just want to tell a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was a multi-building campus, similar to what you have here. It was 5 different buildings. It's obviously a renovation involved, 2 new additions, and 1 emergency project where we had to move very quickly, plan accordingly, and implement the plan and execute it. Very proud of that one. It came out very well. We got the kids back at school. Oh, by the way, we did it for children at school as well. So that was really big. So this one lasts approximately 3 years, engineering and it come in crime and hybrid.
Linebrook is a project we're completing now. We came in just before maybe the midpoint of the project. They were having many issues on the project from a design standpoint, from construction management, leadership standpoint, from contractor issues that were in process. They essentially changed the whole team, including administrative team members, and so we're at the point where we're about 99% completed. And again, Joe was the leader on that project. And
Yeah, this one here, the project didn't get off to a very good start. We were brought in to evaluate the project, come in, implement the plan, and execute it. We did that. There was numerous design issues. They tried to value engineer their way through the project in the beginning, really didn't work out. But, ultimately, we got the project completed. Again, it was a challenging task. Coordination was the biggest key. We kept in constant contact with the district's personnel. Every step that helped facilitate the project.
And then Carmel Schools was a project that had a lot of similar type projects that are listed in your scope, in your 5-year plan. Many infrastructure upgrades, roofing, window replacement. There was some site work. Synthetic field installed as well, and a couple of small additions. Chappaqua Schools was another district that had some expansion. We did roofing replacements, mostly in the summer, but we actually did a lot of work in the school year as well, off hours. And that's one of the things that we, are part of the process of trying to, trying to help determine what can be done during the school year. Because there is a lot of work that can be done with off hours around the occupied facilities and activities. And certainly BBS is the architect. We've had a long-standing professional relationship with them, been on many projects with them. These are just some sample projects ranging from multiple bond referendums and capital projects at Fort Washington Field, additions and renovations, West Islip School District, mostly infrastructure work in the recent bond referendum, and Greenville Bethpage, science and renovations, extensive infrastructure improvement. And one thing we like to show, with some of these slides is that we do keep, thankfully getting asked back to perform work, perform services to the client. And we feel that's a testament to the services that we provide. And the role of a construction manager, whether it's us or someone else, there are essential duties that need to be worked out and carried out. We would be involved. Actually, it's not very often that we're involved pre-bond and during the pre-construction as well. It's great for us to be on board because we can now assist in your planning, your budgeting. We'll review what what your plans are, what your wish list is. Certainly you probably won't get everything on that list, in the first go around unless you want to increase maybe your target number. But we help, help you decide, look at the numbers because pricing has been a little crazy the last couple of years. And it's probably going to continue for a little while longer. And then the development of the timeline and the phasing, what can be done, like I mentioned earlier, during the school year, during the summer months, because you can't do everything that you're looking for only in the summer. And we have to figure out what can be done while keeping the students safe, keeping the schools occupied, and having all you people, just make sure that the kids are being educated and safe. And then during construction, we talk about what our duties are. We maintain full-time representation on the site, monitoring the construction. We're coordinating with the contractors and the multi-contractors, like I mentioned. There is a lot of overlap that has to be done at one time, and a lot of times contractors don't want to work together. So we have to help and sometimes strongly to make sure the process is continued. We're coordinating the testing labs. when it comes time to paying the contract, it's very important. You know, and it's easy to say, oh, well, let's hold payment, you know, but they're there for a reason, right? They're there to make a living with everybody. In their jobs to make a living. So we have to make sure that whatever they're asking for is fair. So we review the payment requisition, make sure that what they're asking for is fair. A lot of times, you know, it gets cut down. We maintain communication with you, the owner, to make sure that you understand what's going on, what issues there are, what has come up, what will come up. There will be things that we don't know about, unforeseen conditions, right, where we might have to evaluate a change in work scope. The dreaded, you know, change order words nobody wants to hear, but unfortunately it does happen on every project, but there's a process for evaluating them, for checking the validity, and then if they are valid, as long as you know, the owner and the architect agree, we help negotiate the correct number. of those changes. And then at the end of the project, closing out a project is one of the most difficult tasks that I think anybody can do as a team member. And we help develop the punch lists that are required to complete the work and to make sure that the contractors are carrying out that work and leading it to the architects and PO satisfaction. And then we just like to end with this particular slide, you know, what is the advantage of hiring us. We are very proud of the people on staff that we have. We have a range of professionals that are educated in the industry, in technology, but certainly experienced in the field of construction. The principals of the firms are very involved in the project. We're not here for presentations. You can see we're not the greatest at presentations, but we excel in the field. We excel when the project will be here, you know, to assist in getting this project complete. We've been involved in nearly 100 school district projects. That's our niche. That's what we focus on. We are considered a pure construction management firm. We made a decision a long time ago not to perform general construction work. We feel that there's a perceived conflict of interest. You could be working as a general contractor with the same subcontractors that we're trying to, you know, make sure that they're getting work done as your owner representative. So we made that decision. We don't even want that perception, so we're concentrating on strictly owner representative construction management type service. And really, we'd love to turn it over to you, any questions, and, you know, see how we can help you. That's it for the presentation.
Very good. Just one point of clarification. When I look at your involvement map, it's very focused on Long Island. My son lives in Port Washington, so I know the kinds of budgets they deal with. And I think probably the closest to us would be Pine Bush. But I don't see anything. Do you guys, would you expand to have people, you know, I don't want to say housed up here, but office space up here? How would you plan on? I mean, I'm reading into this chart that makes it look to me like, you know, your central hub is on Long Island, Sussex County. And then from there, you branch out a little bit, but I don't see anything even in Dutchess County. Yeah, Carmel, but that's between Carmel and Pine Bush are the two that I think are the closest. But your thoughts on how this would go?
I'm fairly local. I live approximately 35 minutes away. I have 4 other senior project managers that live in that same proximity. 4 of them, almost 5 of them have been with us for about 8 years or more. They have worked on all of these projects. So their proximity for quality personnel is here.
Okay,
It's central to Long Island because that's where we started.
Yeah.
That's where all of this is. We have certainly been branching out, and that's the goal of every business is to have to expand and to, you know, share your services and your experience. But we put together, a strong team. Of project managers, that have been assisting us and working very well. In the region, so I don't have an issue. I don't perceive any issue with being able to service you. You'd actually did see me here, as well. Certainly Joe, multiple times a week, and Tony would be involved in most of the pre-construction, the estimating, scheduling, value engineering, things like that. And then during construction, you see Tony involved. Certainly is a team approach, no matter where it is.
Questions from the board? Elliot?
Sure, just a couple of questions, guys. How many school districts are you currently working with in projects that either in development or underway?
They're probably involved in about 15 school districts, 15, even 20 school districts, but there are different levels. I mean, there are several that are actively in construction. I mentioned a couple here. Blindbrook is about 99% complete, so that'll be done shortly. We had Portchester is in the closeout stage, not much going on there. We're involved in.
We have other projects that are currently in punch stage, waiting for contract to go out to bid for the documents to come back from SED. So that'll pick back up again. The majority of the work taking place in the summertime. And how many of them are currently in the pre-round for looking for a vote in 23?
We actually just had a successful vote. Like 2 weeks ago, right?
Yeah. My house just passed $42 million bond. I finished that. So it's successful bond.
We had two other ones. Actually, there was one that just was not successful last week, and there's some talk about some other ones in progress, but not solid dates yet.
Okay. Have you had any projects in the last 10 years run over time or over budget? And so, how did you react and respond to that?
No, we don't have a project. We don't have a bond referendum that did not meet its goals or meet time and budget parameters. I mean, certainly when there are multiple projects, some are better than others, right? There might be certain delays on certain projects. We might be better on other projects, but it's really a matter of if you are delayed for whatever the reason is, we go on some conditions. Could be the pandemic. But the main thing is to focus and to get back on task. In the way that we can. And that's what we've been very successful in doing.
Regarding the project that we referred to as far as extending business time limits, we've all been seeing this in the industry wise, the mechanical portion of the jobs. A lot of the mechanical projects, unit ventilators, your air conditioning, your pressure requirements that you have to take care of. The unit ventilators, your AC units, the rooftop units. We've been seeing that those have been the ones that have been causing some of these delays from manufacturers standpoint. We've been seeing manufacturers come in delivering the material right from the warehouses, and they've been problematic right from the warehouse. So items that were delivered on site, installed on site, wouldn't even operate or work. We'd have to have the manufacturers themselves come out there to review the potential problems. These are the ones that are causing some of it. I don't want to just touch base just a couple of things, if I may, and I know that we'll do most of the problem here. Again, we have multiple slides. We could have brought a litany of slides based upon, you put on what you saw here. We don't want to away with that. Our main goal here is to be, like you said, the eyes and ears of the community, this board, superintendent, and the children and buildings. We're here to protect your vested interest. It's your dollars that you're putting up. This is your money. You have to answer to the community. So here we are to protect this board, this community for their dollar amount. A contractor is not doing what they're supposed to do. We're there for that. We're making sure that he's giving what you paid for. And if he's not, then we hold him to task. We talked about watching the payment applications, the change orders and such. That's what we do. We're there for that because we do not let the contractors get ahead. We keep the contractors at where they're supposed to be. We don't intentionally hold their money, but if they're not doing what they're supposed to do, if the products are not there, they can't build one.
If they're not at the point where they are on the percentages that they're trying to submit, we're there to protect. If we see a contractor is failing and falling behind, or there's a potential for that contractor to go default, we hold back on it. We get the attorneys involved, we'll get the bonding company involved, with all of this transparent, with us communicating directly to the board, to the education, the facilities, the administration. Everybody's on board. Again, this is what we do, this is all we do. We work around children and teachers, faculty and staff. We're making sure that we're there, that they're safe, that they can conduct their business, to teach, to keep the kids working, keep the kids educated, and not to disrupt them. So we're there, working hand in hand with the administration, making sure that no blackout dates are compromised. If there's testing going on, there's no work going on. Making sure that there's no noise taking place while the students are occupying the space. If there's night work going on, we coordinate that with any functions that are going on. Again, this is what all we do. We chose to do this for a reason. We could have been in the private sector. We could have done construction as a regular GC. My company, Big and Will, the other owner, chose not to. Financially, did it hurt us a little bit? I mean, we could have made more money on the GC side, but their passion made us be passionate. I'm a parent. I had children go to school, and I've seen some of the construction that took place, and it used to break my heart to watch what was going on, but I was not on that. So I became more passionate protecting your interests.
One last question, guys. So from everything that you've learned about our district, what role would you play in helping us prioritize our project scope of this vote? And what do you think our priorities should be?
I would think the priority should be based upon the needs first. The wants come later. It's what the needs are. That's what we focus our attention on. Then we have a communication with your architect firm, which would be DBS at this point. We have a dialogue with them, knowing what SCD, New York State Education Department, what the backlog is. We would try to fit them into that schedule. So you go, what you need, knowing there's going to be certain backlogs. Saying, okay, this would be your priority. This is where you should start with first. Get your foot in the ground, get these projects out to bid early, knowing that there's going to be a delay on the material arriving on the certain things. That would be part of the coordinated effort with the administration, obviously with the board, as to where are your priority, where do you want to start first? Where do you see the biggest hit or the biggest problem that would arise later on in the community?
And I know you have a list of priorities, but that does have to be reevaluated because of this condition, like you mentioned, Tony, the pandemic, that changed a lot, of course, and availability of materials. So I think we would be involved early on with, meeting, walking the buildings, let's really take a good look at what priority ones, really all priority ones. I think some of the twos would have to move up to ones. I think it should be looked at that way. And then certainly you have a target of what you want on these with all this. So I think as a group collaborating together, we have to come up with that list of projects.
Maybe a complete package also. Yeah. We don't want to go back 2 years from now and say, oh, got something. Or maybe we're looking like we're over budget, so let's play around a little bit and leave half the project in there. It never works. It never works. You have to, stick with your plan. Keep saying, formulate it from your needs.
Very good. Anything else? Okay, thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for your time.
Is there anything else on?
Good night, everyone. Good luck.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're not, we're recording. And not.
Joe, you got your order to go right there.
I think so.
Thanks, sir.
You guys are good to go? Hold on. Oh, sorry. Yep.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for inviting us be part of your project and talk a little bit about our services. What we want to talk about tonight really is want to talk about our project team. Talk about what we can do for you as a partner during your pre-referendum phase, after successful bond vote, what we consider important things to really be talking about, and what, you know, kind of services we provide during the pre-construction, construction, closeout phases of the project, and then why the Palumbo Group. And again, thank you for inviting us. It's a big deal for us. Project team, of course, Millbrook Central School District, architects, BBS. My team, so Lou Rodriguez, I am an owner of the Palumbo Group. I would be your project executive on this project. I personally was involved and planned the referendum campaigns for the high school here. I also personally planned the campaign for the athletic fields. Put together the dollars and cents, put together the schedule, and I was involved throughout the project until we closed. Project manager Tom Chester was supposed to be, he was part of the virtual presentation, but he got sick. So he apologizes for not being here. Tom lives in Oakway. He's just recently came off of a $54 million project in New Paltz. And right now he's managing the Pauling project right down the road. So, and he's also managing work at Hyde Park. So, you know, guy with a lot of experience, been with me for close to 15 years. Joe Pfeiffer, project superintendent. Joe's got many years of experience as a project superintendent and a CB. He's
Also working right now down in Mayapack Central School District on a $53 million project, which is going to be completed by December of 2023. So Joe would be your on-site full-time project superintendent. And then project administrator Denise Odell, she would be support, she's our glue for the project. She would be involved totally for this project. Denise lives in Pleasant Valley. I personally live in Hyde Park, so we're a local team. My office is in Poughkeepsie, right behind Adrian's Library. So that's our team. And I think it's really important to say, again, we've been part of Millville for a while on significant projects that were a success. Pre-ref. So right now, you guys are looking to get out to a vote, and how do, what really do we need to do most important? We have to define the dollars and cents, we have to define the plan. That's really what's important, and communicate that properly to the community. What the community wants to know is that you have a good plan, and the stuff that you're looking to do in your buildings makes sense. So we would work with you on the construction and the soft side, the incidental costs, review your BCS, your building condition survey. So right now, your architect would have put together a plan with priorities. So we would look at those priorities, really try to, again, work with you to see what makes sense. After a successful bond vote, what does it mean to go out to bid with some projects that are really, there's some synergy in projects that you're putting together. Facilities evaluations, again, we review your 5-year plan, your structural, architectural, MEPs, code compliance. When we did the walkthrough of the buildings, there was a mix of code compliance, mix of architectural items, mix of ADA compliance that were required. Asbestos lead, SHPO. Some of the buildings are older, but I don't know that we've run into any major SHPO issues. Secret. On what we've been talking about, I don't think there's anything significant that would require us to go to the state with any significant state environmental quality issues. Program validation, again, work with your architects on the program and review your current space needs. I think what's really important when you go through the referendum is let's dissect it. Let's make sure we come up with a plan that makes sense. Not just, hey, I want this, I want this. Let's come up with priority 1s, 2s, and 3s. Committees, let's put together some committees. And let's have forums. Let's get the community in to talk about the project. We would assist you in that. We've successfully had successful referendums, Germantown, Red Hook, Rhinebeck, Spackenville, Pauling, Cross River, Highland, New Paltz, Rondout, Newburgh. These are all districts that we've had successful referendum on. And this is, on the front end, I think putting together a good plan is really, really important. Assisting you guys with newsletters, making sure that the correspondence gets out to the community makes sense, easy to read, and answers their questions. And just give you constant support until that day of a positive vote. So on the pre-referendum side, I think it's really important. We're going to be there, and per our proposal, we would be doing that free of charge. We're going to take the risk with you. So all that time, the estimating, planning, everything that we're going to do to be part of this, we're doing that at no cost to you. We're going to take the risk. All we would expect is that if the bond did pass, that we would go into, negotiations fairly with each other. And that's really it. We're going to take the risk. If it doesn't pass, let's regroup. Let's try it again. That's really what we'd be looking to do. So what we want to do, the next part of this, you can move to the next slide. What we want to do is really talk to your project. We can talk about a lot of our projects that we've done in the area, but I think what's important is for you to understand what we saw during the walkthrough. You'll see a small legend. Everything highlighted in blue is windows and glass, right? Block replacement. So the exterior wall on this building is antiquated. So really a big part of the project would be replacing all of the exterior wall systems on this building. Everything that you see in green is your roofs. Your roofs are in a lot of need. So when you look at this, we're really talking about your building envelope at the middle school. You got everything green, everything blue. It's really making sure that your building is weather tight and is, efficient moving into the future. Make sure your roof is meeting current code, R value. Make sure your exterior wall systems are doing the same. Your interconnecting stairwells. When you see go back one. Okay. So when you look at this building, you're on 3 separate levels. So the grade changes pretty significantly. So in the middle, you'll see the two small corridor spines that connect. Those two currently have ADA lifts. And, part of when we went through the walkthrough was really trying to figure out, is there a better way for kids to get from one level to another? Because of the fact that if the kid has to use that ADA lift, it takes them a long time to get to class for that next level. So that was a big thing that we talked about in the walkthrough. The kitchen and serving, definitely, the cafeterias had some upgrades. When you look into the kitchen, the serving area could use some work. And we also talked about doing a walk-in outside to give you some more room in here to really give yourself the possibility of doing something special with your kitchen and serving. I think that over the past 3 or 4 years, especially going through COVID, I've seen a lot of districts, that's what they're doing. They're putting a lot of time and effort into, good cooking facilities and serving the kids. The tech and pre-engineering renovation shop right back here in the corner. You have a big space. How do we make that space more usable and do some pre-engineering, some shop work in there? Science classroom renovations up on the top wing here. You go up on top, there's 1 or 2 science classrooms that have been in a previous project that were renovated, but there are others that need a lot of work. They're original, they have to be gutted, and let's bring them up to today's state of the art science classrooms. Locker rooms or locker replacements throughout. We talked about that. So these were the big things that we talked about at the middle school as far as scopes of work. And this is, as you can see, there's nothing here that it's all real neat. There's nothing fancy. I think it's important to, and when you communicate that to the public, that's going to be really important here. There's nothing fancy, nothing sexy. It's bare bones. It's nuts and bolts. The next area, I just make a point when you're doing roofing work, thought consideration, type of roofs that you want, the warranty needs to be considered. The amount of roof penetrations, if we're going to be doing any future HVAC work here, let's just make sure there's thought for that coming into the future so that we don't ruin a new roof that we've just put in. So let's be thoughtful about that. And let's make sure to bid it early enough so that the materials are going to be here for the start of construction. And you'll see later when I talk, but this is one of those scopes that I was looking to see if there was a successful bond vote in 2023, that maybe we can start some roofing work here in 2024. Next slide is the high school. High school really didn't have a lot that there was a chiller replacement, and the chiller you see is in the back of the building. We did talk about some BMS, building management system reconfiguration, and that was a conversation across the district. So if there's a way of managing your controls and your building, that's going to save you money with your HVAC system, right? So that's going to be a conversation. And then you'll see the science lab. There was a conversation of potential reconfiguration. Right now, when you look at the science classrooms, when you walk in, they look great, but it's a galley type of setup. You have areas of work here, area of work here, but they're not central. There's not a pod set up where the kids are sitting in the middle and really the teacher's really focusing on the kids. They're both on either side of the room. So it's a conversation to have. It's second floor. So it's one of those spaces that if we wanted to do something there, we could probably do something pretty smart there and still keep it affordable. Alden. At Alden, over the years, it's always been work. These are BCS items, replacing doors throughout, and then I'm doing some site work. It's sidewalks, it's storm water, ADA ramps, things of that sort. So when you look at Alden, it's pretty straightforward. Again, these are building condition survey items that have been on the list for a bit, that just probably should be looked at. The next one talks to this main campus. And so there was a discussion during the walkthrough that circulation here is a problem when you look at the blue area. That's where everything just comes together, right? So when you're coming up the hill to the high school, you come to the same location. You come up the hill from Alden, you hit the one location. The parents that are doing their drop off in the front loop, they come to the same location. You go around the big loop with your busing and the buses come back down. Everybody's just coming to this one location. Is there a better way of traffic in this site? And so I think that a big part of the discussion was to say, how do we deal with circulation and parking and make it safer too, right? Because when kids are being dropped off, there's a lot of crossing of paths, right? They're jumping back and forth between this central point. So I think safety is something to consider here too. So this was a big part of the conversation when we walked through the buildings. And just to that point, and you know, again, it's thoughts for consideration. You have to look at stormwater designs that, you know, out here. When we did the first project, you'll see big basins. We want to continue to make sure that those are clean and that the new stormwater design works. SED right now will not fully aid a mill and fill. So that's basically just taking off a portion of your asphalt and coming back. So what we want to do is look at if it's going to be full depth, let's make sure we're doing the right thing. Full depth will get you aid as long as it's tied to something in the building. And again, reevaluate how parents are dropping off and how students are being dropped off the buses. Over at Elm, you'll see again, the blue is the exterior wall. Again, we're just looking at a building that we haven't touched the windows in that building. So it's really trying to see how do we get that work done, make that building more efficient. The hatched area, I call it HVAC upgrades, not roofing. The roofing was done on a previous project. So you already have a spray foam roof there. HVAC upgrades and a DOAS approach. DOAS is a dedicated outdoor air system. We over in Hyde Park, when there was a lot of discussion about mold, you started hearing this term DOAS, dedicated outside air system. And what that system does is really, it treats the air, it conditions the air, mixes the air, and throws it back in. So you're taking air from the building, throwing it through this unit, and it's coming back through. And then in parallel is, other types of heating and cooling that would be tied to it. So that's a big part of this discussion too. How do we reinvent how this building heats and cools itself, and also make sure that we have quality air in the building. Some BCS items, 40 interior doors, replacement of some vinyl asbestos tile. You see some VAT that's damaged. Reinventing the entry to the building. Right now, when you look at the building, you enter north side, but you'll see the arrow. We talked about potentially having a new entry point, and it also addresses security issues and whatnot. So I think that was a discussion. And then again, improving traffic and circulation at this building was a discussion as well. Reviewing alternative entry points from Elm Drive. Is there a better way of coming in and out of this site that makes sense? So that was a discussion also of potential scope that could be part of the project. The next diagram, again, not to spend too much time on, this is the dedicated outdoor air system that we're talking about. This is an approach that a lot of districts are taking, especially if you're looking to take more of an approach where you want to work off electricity and get away from the oil and natural gas. So this is something that's happening on a regular basis. We are pricing this out. It is just a new way of thinking about HVAC in the buildings. Significant things to talk about with the full HVAC upgrade when we budget. The electrical side of things gets affected. So we want to make sure that you have enough electrical to support these new systems. It's a big deal. So when we put the number together, it's not just HVAC, it's also the front end of the building. And we just want to make sure that these things, work, well for you throughout for many years to come. And what's nice about this kind of setup, we can keep your existing, when we look at planning and building, this kind of system can be put into place while your existing system is in place. So you have unit ventilators on the exterior wall, for example, right here. We would be coming from the top with ductwork. Second shift, we would be doing the work. Those units wouldn't be torn out until we were ready. So it's an attractive approach because we can keep contractors working all year. We're not trying to slam everything through in 6 or 7 weeks during summer. Pre-construction, the first thing I wanted to do is just talk briefly, schedule. This is sort of how I looked at the schedule. I looked at potentially the RFP talked about going to vote in May, and if that was the case, we looked at 2 phases of SED submission. The first phase was really looking at this building, looking at submitting the building envelope, the roofs, the windows, getting up to SED with that scope of work, and having that plan in place for the summer of 2024. And then looking at the minor work here at the high school, at Alden, and then work it out as phase 2. And looking at this site circulation. So this site circulation, when that project happens, we want to do that at the end. We don't want to beat up new work, right? So when we do all the work in this building, what we want to be able to do is leave that to summer of 2025. So that's the last thing. So when we're pulling out, we have the new asphalt, new circulation, new striping, and we're not beating it up with contractors coming in and continuing to work on your new product. So really, when we looked at the project, we believe there's a potential for a 2-phase submission to SED where we really could take advantage of the summer of 2024, also have summer of 2025, and then try to finish up by December of 26. Evaluate further, define the proposed scope of work. So once a design starts, what we do to keep it on budget, we estimate it. We estimate it in 3 separate phases. That's schematic design, design development, and construction document phases. So there's always a point in time when we're estimating before we go out to bid to help us put that gut check in place to make sure that we feel good about hitting our numbers. And we're also looking at the soft costs. So how are we paying for the architects? How are we paying for your construction manager? How are we paying for capitalized interest for the project? If there are spaces being bid out, such as the science classrooms, let's make sure there's furniture built in to buy new furniture for those spaces. Same thing with the pre-engineering tech labs. If there's going to be robotics, whatnot, let's put some money in there to buy some special equipment. Total project cost per the RFP was between 20 and 25 million. So that's important, right? So we have to that plan with minimal impact to the taxpayer. Preparing for the bid, I think what's really important for success on bid day is putting together scopes of work that makes sense, right? So instead of just going out with one big GC package, I might break this project up into a roofing prime, a window prime, an HVAC prime, and then I may do an independent site prime, and the same thing at Elm. So I think that's really important. We continue to estimate. We do constructability reviews and value engineering, so we're going to come back with some thoughts on that. We put together the front end. We'll put together bid alternates. Something as simple as flooring. There's a lot of different types of quality flooring out there. Let's do a base bid that's affordable, and let's do something that's a little nicer and see on bid day we get a good number on that piece of flooring. The same thing would be on the HVAC side. We would participate in regular updates to the board, right? That's really important. We want to continue to keep the community informed throughout the project. Let them know how good or bad, if we're having a tough time, let's let them know that as well. Goals for a successful bid. Soliciting contractors. We have a great relationship with local primes. And our job is to get them here on bid day, to give you a good number. So we'll schedule and conduct pre-bid conferences. Basically what I'm doing here, I would do with them. Sit down first. I'm going to teach you about the job, and then I'm going to walk you through the buildings so that I can get the best number from you on bid day. We would be here to publicly open the bids with you, help you tabulate, qualify the bids, and then we would make a recommendation on the lowest bid. Construction phase, after we make the recommendation and the board accepts that recommendation, we move into construction. What do we do on a regular basis? We monitor contractor compliance of the contract documents. So we make sure that what you bought is what you get, right? The plans and specs, we want to make sure you're getting that. Prime contract schedule coordination, we do weekly job meetings. We do phasing and logistics planning. So what we want to do is make sure student staff are separated from the contractors while we're working. Review, modify, and improve monthly applications for payment. So we'll make a recommendation to pay contractors on a monthly basis. We will negotiate any scope of work with that prime. Maintain all project documentation. We will do monthly updates to the team. Board of Ed, quality control and safety. We can't say enough about safety. That's the next slide. Here's section 155.5. New York State has policy in regards to safety, so we make sure that's written into the front ends of the contract. And that's the number one thing we talk about every week at our job meetings. First item we talk about is safety in our agenda. We also have put into the general conditions adherence to any COVID-19 policy, the protocols the owner will have. TPG management staff have 30 hours of OSHA certification. Again, we talk about site containment, we talk about non-fraternization. It's required. ID badges are required. Written safety programs are required. A minimum of 10 hours is required from each prime. Every person that walks on site. Accident procedures policies are required. We take a zero tolerance policy. If anyone's is found talking to students or staff, they're asked to leave and not come back. At the end, why the Palumbo Group? We feel like we've met all the minimum requirements in the RFP. We've been doing K-12. All we do is K-12. I opened the office in Poughkeepsie for Turner Construction back in '96. I ran work for Turner Construction and then started my own company in 2000. And this is all we do is K-12. And you would have me involved. My experiences in Wick's Law, K-12 construction, safety, we take zero tolerance policy when safety comes into play. We have the lead designer for BBS, Brian Manning. We have a very good relationship. I've worked with Brian for close to 20 years on successful projects. I think the team is pretty important when it comes to that. Experience working on pre-referendum. We have successful referendums. I think that's important. We're not usually brought in on the back end. We're usually brought in on the front end to help put together a good plan for you others. Experience in project construction accounting. Again, I take numbers, take pride in putting together good numbers. I'm an engineer by trade and have a power engineering degree from RPI, and that's all I know is numbers. So I'm pretty particular when it comes to that. Regional knowledge and insight. Again, I talked about our relationship with local contractors and professionals. We really do have a great following, and that means better numbers if you want it. Responsiveness, again, project managers, project suit, all the parties that are involved in this project are very close. You know, we're within, furthest half hour. Tom Chester is in Polkway, Denise is in Pleasant Valley, and I'm in High. Again, the fee, we gave a fee because the project scope has not been defined totally, and the project schedule has been defined. So again, the fee is negotiable. I think that once we define the parameters, now we can lock in the fee when it comes to that time. And our fee is based on work going out until December of 2026, and it includes the staff for the durations. I know that was long-winded, but again, thank you, and we'll open it up for any questions. And on purpose, I let Joe just be quiet because there was so much to go through, but you guys can tag team Joe all you want.
I noticed there was no discussion of the Alden heating system, the boilers. Same thing here. Are those included or not included? Like the Alden one a few years ago, there was talk about putting in a backup boiler, but basically putting a backup boiler for a piece of junk. And that got voted down by the board. So is there, between the boilers and the lighting, are those in this, or we're still at the, you know, the large scale, we gotta do all the roofs, the windows, the walls?
Yeah, that's a good question. Your BCS covers a lot. Your BCS probably has close to $100 million worth of work. So it's really trying to, again, as a team, you start sitting down and saying, okay, this really should be in the scope, right? And bring the boilers into the scope. They're on their last lights. I think it's a good conversation. With the lights, there has been discussion, various districts look at, you know, maybe doing an EPC, a small EPC to get lights, or maybe there's a program with Central Hudson that they deal with getting lights. But we can easily put lighting
Okay.
in, or at least put numbers together for it, right?
Yeah.
And just say, okay, if you added all lighting for the whole school, how much would that be? And then you guys can make the call on it.
Question?
Gentlemen, how many school districts are you currently working with? And how many of them are relatively close to what our timeline would be with either a recent or an upcoming vote and be construction around the same school?
It's not a good question. We have 10 districts that we're working with in various phases. Mapac, we're currently in the middle of construction. We're looking to finish that in December of 2023. Ellenville, we are in construction. That's supposed to be finished at the end of 2024. Pauling Central School District, we are in construction. And that's scheduled to be finished at the end of 2024. Hyde Park, we're currently finishing a $26 million project that will be finished by the end of this month. And that's according to schedule. Newburgh and Large City School District, we're there until 2028. That's a $256 million project. Cornwall, we just passed a referendum. That is under pre-construction, just went SED. And that project is to be completed by 2024. Red Hook Central School District, we are in pre-construction. That is to be completed by the fall of 2024. South Orange County Central School District is in pre-construction, and that is to be completed by the end of 2025. North Rockland is in pre-construction. That'll be at the end of 2025, and then Valley Central. It's construction phase, and that's going to be completed this coming year.
Have you had any projects run over time or over budget in the last 10 years? And if so, what did you do to react and respond?
With COVID, we had several districts that we pushed on time, and the general conditions, we write that the contractor is allowed time, but not money. So we have given contractors extension of time just because of the fact that a lot of sites were shut down. But you cannot exceed what the voters voted on. That number is the number. So I think what's really important, looking at the scopes, making sure that we keep the scopes of work that the community was promised. And we were able to do that even through COVID. All of our projects we still gave the community what they were supposed to. A good example, the Red Hook Central School District, we did the auditorium project. That auditorium got pushed because the state shut us down for about a month. So we had to push the project for, about another 6 weeks past completion. We were able to make up that time, but there was no additional impact to the course as far as dollars and cents. We kept this dollars.
How large is your team, and for all the work that you have, I mean, how many project managers do you have that cover all of those projects that you have going?
My company there's 50 employees, have 10 project managers, 12 project superintendents. Where it sounds like a lot, the way school districts work, there's this ebb and flow. Like we worked with Millbrook for many years, and then all of a sudden, downtime. In the past, if anyone said, "Hey, do you consider Millbrook a client?" I would say yes. We were never let go. We just didn't have any more work. And so there was a period of 2 or 3 years where you guys we were just in downtime. And now you're looking at, and a lot of districts do that. So when you see that happening, it's surprising. Like I said, Joe's coming off. So I'm very particular with picking people that fit your timeline. So on purpose, when you look at the bid schedule that I put there, he's coming off work right when we're bidding and able to ramp up your project. So the person I'm promising you is the person that is going to be there. You know, what I didn't put in here, Dutchess Posey, we're just finishing up Dutchess Posey, right? So that's a $40 million project. Tom was managing that, but that's coming off his plate. So what's next? So I think it's important to understand that there's always this movement happening with the staff. Like those districts I didn't mention that I got guys coming off and I may have a problem finding them. And I think what's tough too is that you're in referendum. So what I'm trying to do is guarantee you as much as you can guarantee me. I'm saying, hey, I got a guy coming off, but you can't guarantee me a successful referendum. We're going to work together to try to get there. But that's the way I look at it. And that's, you know, in looking at your referendum, I think you may want to strategize. It's maybe a good time to vote with your budget vote, or is it better to maybe push it to fall and give it its own time, its own look? I don't know. It's just a separate type of discussion, but
Yeah, just to keep it fair, I think we'll have to stop there. Very good. Thank you guys for taking the time and putting together materials. We'll let you know.
thank you. What's your schedule for picking or making a selection?
Sorry.
What's the schedule for making a selection?
Well,
As I'm going to
by definitely by the middle of January, but probably sooner.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, well, thank you.
All right.
Right, so I know.
Thank you. Yeah. All right, next is the consent agenda. Anything anyone wants pulled off? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any questions, comments, concerns?
I had a question for number 12, just what was the change of mind? Because that was so recent, we got that resignation, just wondering.
I think he realized that he was able to maintain some working hours with his upcoming class schedule.
Anything else? All in favor? Any against? All right, financials and warrants. Do I have a motion? Make the motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions or comments, concerns? All in favor? Aye. Any against? Very good. Next one is the motion to choose the award for a student as our transportation bid. Or supplier, whatever you want to call it, do I have a motion?
So
Excuse me. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions?
Yeah, I'd like to discuss, I'd like to get some information. Particularly, why were they picked? Reasoning for picking?
So we had two responding bidders for our transportation services. The other bidder was significantly higher in almost every category for rates. We did 3 contracts, just to be clear. There's pretty much the everyday to and from school, the extracurriculars and athletics, and then there's a summer. Across all 3 contracts, First Student was the most responsible low bidder. That participated in the process.
As you're aware, First Student has a track record with this district that is less than stellar. on some of their runs in the past. They've been very good this year, I assume. So, nobody else on the board has anything else to ask?
Does Dover agree with this? I mean, do we have to wait for their board approval?
So the way that the bid was structured, there's 6 contracts, 3 for Millbrook and 3 for Dover. Dover awarded their contracts at last week's board meeting. We did go through the vetting process together with our consultants. My counterpart in Dover and I were in touch, comparing our numbers. We both saw a similar escalation in pricing versus our current contract for next year, and then a similar graduation in the 4 subsequent years. So, I mean, they were, for what it's worth, they were pretty consistent between both districts in terms of their response.
And that was one of the changes in it. I think this contract goes out for like the next 4 to 5 years, like you said, but prior it was much longer.
Well, it's a 5-year contract that can then be renewed annually after the per student. It has to be, both parties have to agree to the renewal. Per student refused to renew based on the current terms, and that's why we went back out to bid. So when they resubmitted, they're basically resubmitting new terms for us to vet.
Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Any against? My president, vice president's report. Honestly, I don't have anything for public session. Chris?
No.
All right. Move to interim superintendent.
And I submitted this report with a lot of detail since we knew there was going to be the presentation, so it was going to be lengthy. So if you have any questions, I'll take them at this time.
Love the Millbrook minutes.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Next, we have policy committee. The first one is the policy committee. Oh, God. David or Carolyn?
Sure, just steadily meeting, pretty much cadence has been once a month. Right now, we're working on the 9,000 series personnel. It's just about ready for reading. At 5695, electronic devices.
Cool. Questions?
I would just say with the policies, I know you're getting knee deep in that. If there's anything that, you know, you find that, you know, we should either revisit or discuss or whatever, I mean, you know, that would be interesting to kind of not get into the weeds as much as you, but.
But let me clarify, don't get too carried away.
No. I agree with that.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, next is safety committee.
We had our response team met as well as our health and safety committee. We discussed the lead and water test that has to be done by 2025. We also discussed immunization surveys that are now being required. We had to submit just numbers, percentages, if there was a percentage of students who were not fully vaccinated. The Dutchess County Behavioral and Community Health is outfitting I guess an RV, for a lack of a better term, like a mobile health clinic that will be able to do some of the immunization catch up. So the nurses are working on that. We also had our annual fire inspection and re-inspection. So that came back today. Things were positive and looking good. We did updates for the drills. We do that just to make sure that everyone is on case to make sure that they have all their drills by the end of the year and we're good in every building. We also revisited our threat assessment training, so there will be refreshers in buildings. And we have discussed and continue to have the discussions around altering the dismissal process for Alden. And then we just discussed with the health and safety team some of the SEL work that we're doing, obviously that's preventative, right, of any concerning behaviors that could pose a threat to oneself or others. So we talked about that, and we also talked about lockdown buckets. So in the event that there were a lockdown, students had to be maintained in one area for a period of time. Certain items that they may need while in the classroom or wherever they are. And looking to partner with some local establishments, businesses that might be able to help us fund the preparation of some of those items. So that was our safety meeting.
Question? All right, wellness committee, Chris or Chris?
No, it's really, Caroline, did you want to discuss that or do you want to leave it with us?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. So we had, last year, we had identified 4 subcommittees for physical health, mental health, child nutrition and advocacy. So each of those committees met and are unpacking some of the activities that they would like to engage in this year to further the wellness of the district. And I mean, that's kind of what we did, was we looked at different things that we could be doing, and then we reviewed as a group so that we can sort of lend help and suggestions between and amongst the subcommittees. So just furthering the work that was started in the year prior.
All right, next is public comment. Nothing. Next to our correspondence. From BOCES and MHSSC. Any questions on those? Next is the enrollment report. Incident report.
I do have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So for the out of school suspension for 8th grade. The C5. We may have to take it to executive, but I was wondering if, no.
We'll talk, we can
Okay.
talk about it in executive session. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, PTO.
Okay, so we just had a parents' night out last week on Wednesday. Thank you to all the volunteers, the high school students and parent volunteers that came out to make that successful. There are about 30 kids in attendance, I believe. We haven't totaled up exactly how much money was raised, but thank you for participating in that school fundraiser. Have set up some committees for our committees for moving forward in the winter and spring. So look out for the Gertrude Hawk fundraiser brochures, our annual fundraiser. We get a lot PTO fundraising money from that fundraiser. So those should be going out when we come back from break.
Good.
And that is all.
I mean, yeah.
Not too much different from last month. Our annual appeal letters have gone out to my knowledge. And anyone hasn't received one, of course, will always accept donations for the funding for our children at any time, so. And then to reiterate, our Taste of Millbrook is going to be in the fall, September 23rd of 2023. And then just some recent grants we were able to fund ukuleles for all 3rd graders. And flexible seating for 4th graders. And what's the machine Caroline calls Mind Maker? Is that what it's called? For the
Library.
in the middle school.
Oh,
If I'm
t-shirt maker?
Well, it's something maker.
something maker.
Yeah. I don't know. That I do not have.
Okay. But a lot can be done with that. I'm sorry.
That's Kathy. That's Kathy.
Kathy, yeah.
So we're pleased to be able to fund those and more to come.
Very good. Next is future agenda items. If you have any, let me know.
Ask a question. about
Yeah.
that? I I don't know if this is something for future agenda items or like a public comment, the NISBA update that we get from, Robert Schneider had something on there about the healthy school meals for all New York kids. And it's a letter where you can, it's like a prefab letter kind of thing. I just didn't know if, like, maybe in the future, we could either talk, like, somehow get it out to parents. I don't know if it's allowed to be sent out to parents or something, because there is a lobby date, January 9th. You know, I don't know if I could go, I would love to, but it's something that if they, they're trying to fund a statewide permanent, you guys probably read it, free school meal program. So I didn't know if there was any way in the next meeting or something, we could take this, it's called Take Action. I don't know what the logistics are around that, to somehow make
We
it,
should probably get Julie or Beth to weigh in on whether or not we're allowed to kind of campaign for stuff on our own.
yeah,
I'd never quite know if that's allowed or not allowed, but I was gonna take that to the Dutchess County School Board and see if they all want to go together and put a letter from all of the county. But yeah, we would, more people we get on it, the better will be.
yeah, whatever we can do logistically without any trouble to.
But why don't can we put that on for the first meeting in January?
It's not gonna be too late if it's the ninth. When is it?
So,
So-
I was just gonna say the date for the lobby date is the 9th. It's in person at the Capitol, but the letter, I don't know how quickly the letter needs to get out or
That's
like
what I
if
was
there's a big deadline. I didn't see that, but I don't know. Do you know more?
I assume-
Yeah, so that was, we talked about this a little bit in the last meeting, and I basically, Ms. Lowe saying you can send this out to your districts. Obviously, if I would want to run it by Julie, just to make sure that the terms of it are fine, but they're saying put it on your website, parents can go on there and fill out if they have special comments to make to legislators to review this request. The virtual Capitol Conference Day is February 10th. And then your NISBA lobby day is February 15th, but yes, there is something else going on the 9th. I think that's just for like NISBA getting together to go over perspectives. So I think that was something, I agree with Jennifer, we can maybe get a vote on it if it's something we want to partake in for our district. I think every school voice matters, even if we are a smaller district, but maybe take that and just have votes.
Yeah, I mean, if we talk to Julie, I mean, we're not actually right now taking action as a board other than putting the letter out there and telling parents, if you believe in this, send the letter. Again, I don't know if that has any political ramifications for us, but Julie or Beth should be able to tell us that. And then we don't really need to wait for
That's
the
what I was gonna say.
board meeting.
In
Just
the
put it out
interim, Caroline talks to Julie and she says it's fine, but we just post it.
there, and
And I don't
somehow-
think any of us are gonna resist them.
Yeah, and somehow send communications out to parents saying, you know, if you believe in this, fill it out. All right.
Thank you.
I do have something to bring up for as a possible future discussion. Now that Dover and our district has picked first student, we need to, I think we should discuss the possibility, both districts probably should discuss about being part of the safe, putting cameras on the school buses. Within the last 2 weeks, I saw 2 cars run past steady stop Arlington buses with their red lights flashing. I saw a bus driver smile as one of them went by because Arlington does have the cameras on their buses. And I'm sure that person will get one of those civil 250 tickets in the mail. But that being said, we should discuss it as a board because other districts do participate. And putting all kinds of monetary fines or any fines aside, our children are just as important as other districts that do have this cameras on buses. And until drivers realize that that more and more of these buses have these cameras, I think it's a mindset that, we need to protect our children in our district as well.
Where did that end? Because we've had many discussions on that. I think
We didn't.
board, we were okay with it.
Yeah, I think, were you in correspondence with the county, Caroline? Is that where it went off?
I don't recall my head where that all landed, but we can discuss it again. I think we were actually waiting for, if my memory serves me correctly, we were waiting for first student to come back with information for us. Because they were being assured by someone, whatever that company was, that they already had an agreement from us, and we said, no, we don't. So that's where I remember it kind of fizzling out.
So can you take it to first student and basically get, what are you doing for us?
What do they need from us or how, what's the procedure to move forward?
Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
Mhm.
All right, next is executive session. If there's anyone online. We'll be going to executive session, which basically means we pause this meeting. But when we come back, we may have additional actions that need to be taken before we adjourn the public session. So with that said, do I have a motion to go to executive session? Do I have a second? All in favor? All right, any against?